Quetzalcoatl. While most dragons went for the classic lizard and scales aesthetic, this one rolled up in rainbow feathers instead. And if your first thought was, damn, that's fire, it really is, because, he's a fire-breathing dragon. But he wasn't just a dragon. He was also half snake, half bird, and one whole bad bitch. According to his origin story, Quetzalcoatl actually started off as a regular snake. One day, Tlaloc, the god of rain, saw a bunch of snakes in a cave drinking water. All of them were chilling, except for one who kept looking longingly at the sky. So naturally, Tlaloc gave that one wings. Maybe he wanted to set fire to the rain, who knows. Anyway, from there, Quetzalcoatl made it clear he was no average dragon. He didn't hoard treasure or eat villagers. Instead, he invented civilization, as in calendars, astronomy, agriculture, books, medicine, morality, and the wind. He even descended into the underworld to collect the bones of humanity, sprinkled his blood on them, and resurrected mankind. In short, he slayed at everything he did. So naturally, the Aztecs decided to slay for him as well, though a little more literally this time. But it wouldn't be mythology without a downfall. Quetzalcoatl got tricked into breaking his own moral code, got drunk, burned down his temple, and exiled himself on a raft made of snakes. The prophecy said he'd return one day, pale-skinned, bearded, and glowing with divine purpose. So when the Spanish conquistadors showed up, the locals thought he was back. Turns out it was just smallpox and colonialism, which honestly is way scarier. Tiamat. Tiamat is the original mother of dragons. Not in a platinum blonde kind of way, but more like a multi-headed, universe-sized sea dragon kind of way. And she also happens to be the Mesopotamian primordial goddess of the sea. So, Yo Mama was so big, she was literally worldwide. Together with Abzu, the god of freshwater, she created the world and gave rise to the entire divine family tree. So Yo Mama was so old, she didn't just fart dust. She also gave birth to all the ancient gods. Afterwards, Abzu and Tiamat discovered the pleasant joys of parenting. Just kidding. Abzu hated the kids, but he couldn't kick them out of the house because the universe was their house. So he decided to yeet them out of existence instead. Unfortunately, the kids found out and struck first. That made Mama even saltier than she already was, because she's saltwater, remember? So in her rage, Tiamat did what any reasonable parent would do: hook up with one of her kids, Kingu, and make him king. I mean, it's in the name. After that, she gave birth to yet another set of monster kids, hoping it would solve the problem with her other kids. Shockingly, it made things worse, because here comes Marduk, a rookie god with a massive ego. He promised to defeat the old hag if the other gods made him the new king of gods, and he actually pulled it off. Marduk slayed Tiamat, split her body in two, and used her corpse to build the sky and earth. As for Kingu, they used his blood to make humans. So, yeah, the world is built from a dead widow, and we're all technically made from her ex's blood, Fafnir. Our next tall tale is about a short dude who took get rich or die trying way too literally. Except he actually died. But before he did, he became a dragon. And you already guessed why. He got greedy. Originally, Fafnir was just a dwarf. A slightly murdery, treasure-hungry dwarf, but still, normal by Norse standards. But then, he decided to kill his father over money matters. So, I guess you could say, apart from being short, he was also short-tempered, or short-sighted, or short on morals. Anyway, he was short on everything. So in the end, he also got the short end of the stick. Fafnir took all the treasure for himself, moved to a desolate heath, and got so obsessed with guarding it that he slowly transformed into a monster. The only upside was that he kept all his gold, so I guess good for him. Anyway, that happiness was short-lived, because Fafnir's brother Regan wasn't impressed with the whole dragon tantrum lifestyle. So he did what any responsible sibling would do. He hired a teenage hero named Sigurd to do the murder for him. Once he was dead, Regan cut out the dragon's heart and tried to cook it to gain Fafnir's knowledge. But while roasting it, Sigurd accidentally tasted the heart instead. For some reason, he could now communicate with birds, and what they said ruffled quite some feathers. They warned Sigurd that Regan was planning to kill him and take all the treasure. But thanks to his newfound bird-whispering abilities, Sigurd overheard the plot and struck first. So yeah, the moral of this story is keep your morals high, even if you're short on everything else. Bakunawa. Remember when Gru said, "Tonight we steal the moon"? Yeah, Bakunawa saw that, said, "You ate with that," and then actually ate the moon. In Filipino folklore, Bakunawa is a massive sea serpent with an unhealthy obsession with celestial objects. Back then, the night sky wasn't dark. It had 7 moons, lighting it up like a cosmic chandelier. But one night, Bakunawa looked up, saw all those moons, and apparently mistook them for snacks, maybe boiled eggs or whatever. Anyway, he flew out of the ocean and started inhaling them. With every moon he devoured, the earth trembled, because apparently eating the sky triggers massive earthquakes. Eventually, only one moon remained. And when Bakunawa came back for dessert, humanity collectively lost it. People ran outside, banging pots and pans, while yelling at the heavens to return the moon. If you ask me, they should have tried mooning it instead. That sure as hell would grab his attention. But yeah, their plan worked too. Startled, Bakunawa spat out the moon, the sky survived, and humanity celebrated. And now, every lunar eclipse is blamed on his repeated attempts to finish the job. But in some versions, Bakunawa wasn't evil. Some say he fell in love with the moons and only ate them to keep them close. Others say the gods banished him for being ugly. So he took revenge by taking the prettiest thing in the sky. Either way, therapy was clearly not an option. Today, he's still a symbol of eclipses, sea storms, and why dragons should maybe not be left unsupervised around heavenly bodies. Nidhogg. Here's a dragon you probably won't root for, mostly because he's busy rooting all of us out of existence. In Norse mythology, Nidhogg lives at the roots of Yggdrasil, the tree that supports life, the universe, and this channel. And what does Nidhogg do with this sacred structure? He chews on it. You see, every bite weakens the foundation of reality inch by inch. But he's not trying to bring the tree down today. He's playing the long game, just passing time, while waiting for Ragnarok, which is basically the end of the world event in Norse mythology. In the meantime, he stays busy. When he's not gnawing through the universe's root system, he slithers over to Nastrund, one of the shadiest neighborhoods in Norse mythology. Nastrund is where he feeds on the souls of murderers, cheaters, liars, and people who don't subscribe to this channel. Is he just snacking? Maybe. Or maybe he's feeding on corrupted souls to fuel something bigger. But luckily, this dragon has other hobbies too. Apparently, Nidhogg also spends eternity locked in a passive-aggressive rap battle with an eagle perched at the top of Yggdrasil. The insults travel by squirrel. I'm serious. The squirrel runs up and down the tree delivering divine trash talk. Anyway, when Ragnarok finally arrives, Nidhogg will burst from the underworld, dragging corpses behind him, and ready to finish what he started. So no, he's not mindlessly chewing. He's biding his time. And when the world ends, he wants front row seats, preferably after setting the stage himself. Bahamut. Ever wondered what's under your feet? If you ask Mesopotamian mythology, it's Big Mom, also known as Tiamat. And if you ask Arabic mythology, it gets deeper, like uncomfortably deeper. Because according to them, you, me, and the rest of existence are sitting on the back of some big-ass cosmic fish, also known as Bahamut. Now, to be fair, Bahamut isn't a dragon in the usual fire-breathing sense. Instead, he's a massive fish floating in a sea of darkness so deep, it might as well be your unread emails. But he's not carrying our world directly. Instead, mythology kept stacking other random stuff on top of its back too. First, there's an angel holding up the earth. That angel stands on a giant gemstone. That gemstone then sits on top of a colossal bull. And finally, underneath the bull sits the fish. So, what does that fish actually do? Well, nothing fishy, except for swimming around and rolling in the deep, and that's exactly the point. He exists purely to keep the world stable, and considering his size, carrying all that baggage is basically light work, because Bahamut is so massive that all the world's oceans can fit comfortably inside one of his nostrils. So yes, our entire world is basically the size of his booger. But if he's a fish, why the hell did he make it to this list? Well, blame pop culture. In Dungeons & Dragons, Bahamut ditched the fish form and showed up as a powerful metallic dragon. Wise, noble, and way less moist. Anyway, next time your back hurts, just remember, somewhere out there, Bahamut is holding it down harder. Shenlong. Not all dragons are full-time edgelords, or in Bahamut's case, professionally unbothered. Some can actually vibe with humans, if they feel like it. And Shenlong might be one of them. He's one of the most powerful dragons in Chinese mythology, and the god of tempest and rain. Look-wise, he's serpentine, sky blue, and covered in shimmering scales. He's also regal, majestic, and extremely petty if ignored. Back in ancient China, emperors held entire ceremonies just to keep him happy. We're talking incense, sacrifices, temples, all of it. Because if Shenlong felt disrespected, you were about to get wet, and not in a good way. You see, this divine diva absolutely will act up if he's not getting enough attention. So here's some ancient advice. Don't offend him, and don't ignore him. Do either of those, and you'll get anything from storms and floods to droughts that could last for years. In other words, the weather depends on his mood. Talk about high maintenance. But despite being such a drama queen at times, Shenlong is a reliable guy who takes his job seriously. Because compared to other dragons who will roast your village just for showing up, Shenlong's temper tantrums are at least somewhat justified. I mean, a little bit of glazing now and then won't hurt, especially if your crops depend on it. Azhdaha. Azhdaha might be the only dragon in mythology who's not thrilled about being a grower. In Persian mythology, Azhdaha starts off as a harmless little serpent, the kind you might find chilling near a stream. But then someone told it to grow up, and it took that way too literally. 'Cause now we're dealing with a mountain-sized, fire-breathing, flood-starting hater who basically wants all civilization to die. Azhdaha is usually described as a massive snake or dragon serpent that can live on land, in the air, or in the sea. He represents chaos, destruction, and natural disaster, so he's basically a one-reptile climate crisis. Which makes sense because, in most stories, Azhdaha terrorizes entire villages, blocks rivers, and occasionally demands human sacrifices, usually young women, because ancient dragons were apparently all perverts. But it seems like those sacrifices aren't good enough, because he often floods entire regions by coiling its massive body across rivers and redirecting the water, basically creating an underwater traffic jam. Luckily, every disaster comes with its cleanup crew. In most versions, a hero like Rostam or Garshasp eventually shows up, slays the dragon, and restores balance. Kinda boring, if you ask me. But hey, at least this part is interesting. If you eat a part of Azhdaha, like its heart or liver, you gain superpowers, or die immediately. Honestly, it's 50-50. So yeah, the moral of the story? If your garden snake starts blocking roads and kidnapping villagers, maybe don't wait until it's mountain-sized to get rid of it. Alright, that's the list of dragon myths no one asked for. Pick your favorite flying noodle and argue about it in the comments. And subscribe, unless you want Bakunawa to finish the job.